Hello, this is Diane Dalton. This topic will cover how to configure your computer, and that means we're going to make your computer into the tool that you need it to be. Things we're going to cover in this lesson are how to add application software packages to your computer. We'll talk about adding hardware and the device drivers. We'll look at keeping your operating system and software up to date with upgrades, and also about updating your device drivers. And we'll also talk about what you need to do if you choose to remove your software applications. So let me discuss this. Your computer is really a tool. It's not the end of everything to do, but that is the career you're looking for. Computers are used everywhere in our society, and they're used for many different functions. What you've learned in your education is word processing and PowerPoint and Excel, but there's many other ways for using your computer as well. I've listed a few here. Some of these clearly you can understand, but I put like manufacturing control system. There's things for monitoring, processes that are going on. So there's just many different ways, and sometimes you need to add different software and different hardware to make your computer accomplish these goals. So what do you need to do? We're going to learn how to install application software, and I've put some examples there of your Microsoft Office tools and a few other things. TurboTax, good for doing your taxes. Your Quicken Home Finance, that's for managing your money. Family Tree Maker, if you're into tracking your family genealogy. Those are some software packages. But then you can look at different types of hardware. Some extra things that you might not have added to your computer yet might be a barcode scanner. In a retail instance, that would be a nice addition to have on a computer. Or a webcam. There's many other types of hardware that can be added. So let's talk about software installations first. You can get your software in many different ways. I'm going to really just focus on two because that pretty much covers all the examples. You can either get it on a DVD, perhaps a CD still, comes shrink wrapped in a box, perhaps with a user's manual, or you can download it from online. And however you pay for it, I'm not really going to discuss that here, but that depends on how the particular manufacturer licenses the software, whether it's a site license or per user license or a trial period. Anyway, many times you can get trial periods that allow you to use the software at no cost for 30 or 60, maybe 90 days before you need to pay for it. So if you're going to install your software from a DVD, you need to first verify that your hardware and your operating system meet the minimum system requirements for that software. That's usually written on the side of the box. You're going to insert your DVD. The startup will usually begin the setup. It'll start through the installation wizard. All of the software for that program will be on that DVD and it will be copied onto your hard disk. Now, if for some reason the setup does not automatically begin, there is an option that you might have the auto run disabled on your DVD player. That's sometimes done for security reasons so that you minimize people bringing viruses into your office by copying them in from home on a DVD. So you might have to actually browse on your computer to the DVD folder and find the setup.exe command to begin the installation. So the setup wizard will step you through all the installation questions. Many times you're going to have to choose between a standard or a custom. I prefer to choose the custom, and what they have as the selections are what they have as the standard. So at that point you can actually still accept the standard if you just look and see what those are. There could be additional tools or add-ins, features that you might want to go ahead and install, and if not, you can just go with the standard installation. It's usually best to go ahead and install the software into the default folder location. Very good software that's well tested would be able to be installed and run from any folder, but some people shortcut that and they build that assumption into their software that it will be in a specific place on your hard disk, and so if it's not, then you have difficulty from the beginning trying to get it to run. And as usual, you're probably going to need a product key to activate your software. All right, now if you're going to install your software from something you've downloaded from the internet, you're going to download an installation file, and you're going to know where you saved it. Got to know where you saved it. You can double click on that to begin it. Sometimes that program that you've downloaded is just an download manager, which is a fairly small program that then manages a session as you download the entire software program. So it really could come in two steps. So the first step might be just a very short program that manages the download of a much larger program. And then once you have all of the files on your hard disk, the setup installation goes pretty much the same as usual, and it will install those folders, all those files and folders into the normal location. So where do these files get put? In Windows 7, Windows puts your application software in a folder called C:\program files. That's for your newer applications, your 64-bit programs. Now, if you're running on an older machine and it is, or you're running 32-bit software that was written for a 32-bit processor, it will get stored in a different folder called C:\program files with x86 in parentheses. Here's a very short snapshot of some that has, I actually have a 32-bit version of Windows on this computer. I should say of Office. Now, if you're going to add hardware, that's another way to customize your computer to make it do the things you need it to do. Most computers have these familiar pieces of hardware: keyboard, mouse, monitor, speakers, etc. So you're used to those. But there's a lot of specialized devices that you can add that will give you more capabilities. Some of these are analog to digital converters, or the reverse, a digital to analog converter. You can get temperature devices that will monitor and control devices. Graphics accelerator that can help, particularly if you're into gaming. Video capture, if you want to actually record video onto your DVD, or onto your hard drive. Power management. These are just a lot of different things that are available. There's little small companies that build these and make them available. But for any type of hardware you add, you're going to need to have a device driver, and that's a very relatively small piece of software that enables the operating system to talk to that device. Now, this driver isolates your operating system and the user from having to understand all of those nitty-gritty details of how the hardware works. From a software point of view, you just want to be able to say, send this message or send this control. Another thing to know about device drivers is they need to be digitally signed. Now, that proves that they're a valid driver, that they've come from the correct manufacturer, and that they're not provided by some bogus fly-by-night company that's trying to send you a virus. So it's very important to always use signed drivers. If you're using Windows 7, any of the 64-bit versions, that's mandatory. You can't install an unsigned driver. But if you're running a 32-bit version of Windows 7, you do have that option still to override and install something. So when you've installed your devices, they all appear in something called the Device Manager. I know you've looked at this before. This is through the control panel you can find it, and you can get the details on every one of these device drivers by double-clicking on the device, or you can right-click and select Properties. So when you pick one of your devices, and in this case I picked the Wi-Fi link on my laptop, you get a tabbed dialog box, and I'm looking at the driver, and what you will see is a lot of information here. So it tells you who created this driver, when it was created, what its version is, and who signed the digital certificate. In this case, it's the Microsoft Windows Hardware Compatibility Publisher. Then if you were to click on the Driver Details button, it would show you exactly where the software driver is located on the hard drive and the file name of it. Most drivers have an extension called .dll. That's for a dynamic link library. Then you have some commands for updating your driver. You can always check to see if there's a newer version available. In this case, this version I have is from 2010, and it's 2 years after that, so it's possible that there's a newer version out there, but maybe not. If you do update a driver and then things stop working, you do have the option to roll back the driver to go back to the previously installed one. Now, most devices these days use plug and play, which means that when you plug the device into your computer, there's information in the hardware that the operating system can read, and it will identify what the product is and what type of device it is, and it will search, the operating system will search and install the driver. So that makes things very easy. But not all devices use plug and play. Sometimes you will actually need to install a driver, and the process is very much the same as installing a software package. You'll usually use the downloaded driver installation or a DVD that came with the hardware. There are some times when you're going to have to set some switches on your hardware to set some addresses or parameters. Always read the documentation that comes with any new hardware. You always want to keep your software up to date, and to do that, you're going to want to install any updates or patches that are made available by the software and operating system manufacturer. In Control Panel, you can click on the Windows Update. This is how you can keep your operating system up to date. You can click on Check for Updates. That will tell you if there are updates that are available since the last time you downloaded and installed the updates. Now, updates come in 3 different categories. There are important ones. Those are things that you really should install. They improve your security or reliability, the functionality. These are bugs that have been found or exploited in the operating system. Then there's recommended fixes. These are things that fix non-critical problems, but still you probably want to do these. And then there's some that are optional. These are enhancements which you may or may not want to install. Now, this dialog box at the bottom, these are your parameters for how often you want to check your updates, or whether you want to automatically install them, or whether you want to review them before you install each one. So these are all options, but I highly recommend that you keep your operating system set so that you will automatically check for updates and install them. Should you choose to uninstall software, and this would be if your disk is getting too full and you just find that you need to free up some space and there's software that you're never using anymore, you don't want to just go find the files and delete them from your disk. You need to use the uninstall utility through the control panel to completely remove the program files and all of the references in the registry. We're going to talk about the registry in one of our next lectures, something coming up soon. But by using that uninstall utility, you take care of all of the loose pieces and get rid of that program completely. So to find the uninstall utility, it's in the control panel. If you look at this area, it's under Programs and Uninstall a Program. When you click on that, it will take a while, but it will read and it will identify every program that you have on your computer. And it will show you the name of the program, the publisher, when it was installed, and what its size is. From there, you have the option to select the button to remove, change, or to repair an installation.